Dropships approaching insertion zone, 90 seconds to deployment. Lieutenant Faisal Saladin al-Saud checked his Winchester quantum rifle for the third time as the dropship shuddered violently through Hataka's ash-choked atmosphere. The white armor with crimson accents that identified Blood Moon Squad gleamed under the dropship's emergency lighting. Saladin adjusted the Stetson secured to his helmet, a tradition no Texas knight would forsake, even when dropping into what remained of a nuclear hellscape. "Blood Moon, sound off," he called, his distinctive St. Paulina drawl carrying over the roar of the dropship's engines. "Sergeant Walker ready to ride." Daniel Walker, a mountain of a man and Saladin's second-in-command, patted the saber at his hip, his white armor decorated with hand-painted crimson cattle skulls. "Corporal Dunn, systems green." Brandon Dunn, their tech specialist, finished calibrating the targeting matrix on his rifle. "Specialist Cruz, locked and loaded." Alejandro Cruz cradled his modified Winchester quantum cannon, a weapon that looked like an antique until you noticed the energy shimmer along its barrel. Corporal McKenzie, medical systems online. Fiona McKenzie, their combat medic, secured the last of her field equipment, her shoulder panels marked with crimson crosses. Specialist Okafor, steeds prepped and ready. Chidi Okafor waited by the deployment bay where 6 enhanced steeds stood in their containment fields, mechanical eyes glowing crimson to match Blood Moon's colors. Saladin nodded, satisfaction evident even through his armored helmet. His squad was the best the Texas Knights had to offer, and they'd need to be. After 3 months of nuclear hell and conventional warfare on Hataka, millions of soldiers had died trying to dislodge the Krell. The aliens had survived the apocalyptic bombardment in their underground warrens, emerging to trap human forces in an endless, grinding stalemate. Until now, the Knights had arrived, and Blood Moon was going to break that stalemate. 30 seconds, the pilot's voice cracked with strain. Taking heavy fire from ground installations. "This will be a hot drop." Saladin turned to his squad. "Remember, we're not here to win this war single-handed. Our objective is to locate and neutralize the primary enemy emergence point in Sector Alpha 3. We punch through their defenses, plant my special packages, make a big damn show of it, then extract." His accent grew more pronounced as the dropship shook from nearby impacts. "My family's been fighting Texas's wars for 7 generations, and not one of us ever met an enemy that couldn't be persuaded by enough high explosives." The squad chuckled. Saladin's ancestors had emigrated from Saudi Arabia to Earth's Texas centuries ago, and later to the frontier colony of St. Paulina, beyond the outer rim. His reputation for brilliant strategy combined with spectacular explosive displays had earned him the nickname Saladin, after the legendary Muslim leader, though his teammates often joked that the historical Saladin had probably used fewer explosives. "Deployment bay opening!" The pilot's warning came seconds before the floor beneath them split open, revealing Hataka's devastated surface. What had once been a thriving world was now a blasted wasteland of melted glass, pulverized rubble, and perpetual ash storms. The distant flash of weapons fire punctuated the gray-black landscape. "Blood Moon, deploy!" Saladin ordered. They mounted their steeds in perfect unison, the neural interfaces connecting rider to mount with practiced ease. These weren't biological horses, but advanced mechanical constructs with enhanced capabilities that mimicked the movement and behavior of cavalry mounts from old Earth. As one, the 6 knights rode out of the dropship, their steeds adjusting their descent with controlled bursts from specialized thrusters. They hit the ground with bone-jarring force, yet the steeds' adaptive suspension absorbed the impact, allowing them to immediately surge forward across the blasted terrain. "Walker, take point. Done. Scanning patterns. I want enemy positions mapped," Saladin ordered, his battlefield awareness already building a tactical picture of their surroundings. The squad moved in a practiced formation, their steeds' hooves striking sparks from the glassy ground as they accelerated toward their objective. 2 kilometers ahead lay their target, the primary Krell emergence point, where the aliens were bringing fresh troops and supplies to the surface. "Multiple contacts," Dunn reported, his scanning equipment picking up movement beneath the ash-covered landscape. "Emergence patterns detected." The ground erupted before them as Krell warriors burst from concealed tunnel entrances. The insectoid aliens chittered battle cries as they leveled plasma weapons at the approaching knights. "Pattern Zeta," Saladin commanded. The squad immediately shifted formation, their steeds breaking into unpredictable zigzagging patterns that made targeting nearly impossible. The Krell fired anyway, plasma bolts turning patches of ground to molten slag where the knights had been moments before. "Return fire, maintain momentum," Saladin ordered, drawing his Winchester and firing one-handed while guiding his steed with subtle neural commands. The knights' weapons might have resembled antiques, but their functionality was cutting edge. Enhanced rounds tore through Krell armor with devastating precision, dropping the alien warriors in chittering heaps. As they crested a rise formed from the collapsed remains of what might have been a building, Blood Moon got their first clear view of the objective. In a vast depression below, hundreds of Krell swarmed around a massive tunnel entrance. Supply crates, weapon emplacements, and alien machinery surrounded the site, creating a fortified base of operations. "That's our target," Saladin confirmed, taking in the scene. The scale of the Krell operation exceeded their intelligence briefings. "Okafor, tell me you brought the special packages." Okafor patted the cylindrical devices secured to his saddle. "6 high-explosive packages with your customized mixture, Lieutenant. Enough to turn that entire depression into a fireworks display visible from orbit." "Perfect." Saladin's mind was already formulating a plan, drawing on strategies reminiscent of his namesake, but filtered through generations of Texan military tradition. "Done? Any response from command? We could use artillery support." "Negative, sir. Krell jamming is blocking all long-range communications." "Then we do this Texas style." Saladin's drawl deepened, something that happened whenever he was planning something particularly explosive. "Blood Moon, listen up. We're going to execute a modified San Jacinto sweep. Walker and Cruz with me on the primary approach. Dunn, Mackenzie, and Okafor circle around to the eastern edge. When we engage the main force, you place those charges at strategic points around the tunnel entrance." "We'll be surrounded once the Krell realize what we're doing," Walker pointed out. "That's why we're not sticking around for the aftermath," Saladin replied. "Once the charges are placed, we regroup and make a high-speed tactical withdrawal. When we're clear, we detonate. The fireworks show should confuse and demoralize any Krell that survive." "The St. Paulina Special," Cruz commented with a grin in his voice. The squad was familiar with their commander's philosophy that overwhelming visual and auditory displays weren't just destructive but psychologically devastating to the enemy. "Blood Moon," Saladin said formally, initiating the traditional night battle invocation. "We ride for those who can." "For those who've fallen," the squad responded in unison. With that, they spurred their steeds down the slope toward the Krell staging area. The aliens immediately responded, weapon emplacements swiveling to track their approach. Plasma fire erupted across the battlefield, turning the ash-filled air into deadly trails of light. The 3 night teams separated. Saladin led Walker and Cruz in a direct charge toward the heaviest concentration of Krell forces, drawing attention and fire away from the eastern team. Their steeds moved with impossible agility, weaving between plasma bolts while the knights returned fire with deadly accuracy. Saladin drew his saber as they hit the first line of Krell defenders, the enhanced edge cutting through alien armor with ease. His steed responded to his neural commands with perfect precision, trampling Krell warriors underfoot while positioning Saladin for optimal strikes against key targets. "Walker, that weapons platform!" he called, indicating a large Krell emplacement that was tracking the eastern team. Walker immediately changed course, his steed leaping over a barricade of alien supply crates. His quantum cannon fired mid-jump, the enhanced rounds tearing through the platform's control systems. The resulting explosion sent Krell warriors flying in all directions. "Eastern team, status," Saladin demanded as he guided his steed through a knot of disorganized Krell fighters. "In position," Dunn reported. "Planting charges now, heavy resistance, but nothing we can't handle. Work fast," Celine ordered, slicing through a Krell commander's communications apparatus. "Our distraction won't hold them forever." For the next few minutes, the battlefield descended into chaos. Saladin, Walker, and Cruz fought with the coordinated precision that made Texas knights legendary, their steeds moving in patterns refined through centuries of cavalry tradition. They weren't just killing Krell, but disrupting command structures, destroying communication nodes, and creating maximum confusion. "Charges planted," Okafor reported finally. "Timer set for coordinated detonation. All knights converge on extraction route Alpha," Saladin commanded, already guiding his steed toward their predetermined escape path. 30 seconds to clear the blast radius." The 6 knights fought their way toward each other, their steeds pushing to maximum speed as they disengaged from the Krell forces. The aliens, sensing something had changed, pursued with increased frenzy, plasma fire intensifying around the retreating knights. Blood Moon reached the edge of the depression, their steeds straining as they climbed the steep slope below them. The Krell swarmed after them in massive numbers. 15 seconds, Dunn called out. "Keep moving," Saladin ordered as they crested the ridge and thundered across the relatively open ground beyond. "I want maximum distance." As they rode, Saladin activated his tactical display's rear-view function. Behind them, the depression filled with Krell was about to become the site of what his squad affectionately called a Saladin special. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. The world behind them erupted. The initial explosions were powerful enough, collapsing the tunnel entrance and vaporizing everything within 20 meters. But it was what came next that made Saladin's approach unique. Secondary chemical reactions created a cascading series of explosions, each with different colored flames and distinctive concussive effects. Red, gold, and blue fire erupted in patterns that seemed almost choreographed, accompanied by thunderous booms that varied in pitch and intensity. The visual and auditory assault was overwhelming by design, specifically calibrated to affect Krell's sensory systems. The squad pulled up on a ridge half a kilometer away, turning their steeds to observe the spectacle. The Krell emergence point was now a swirling inferno of multicolored flames, secondary explosions still rippling outward in beautiful, destructive patterns. "Now that," Saladin said with satisfaction, "is how you send a message." Through his tactical viewer, he could see surviving Krell fleeing in disorganized panic, many abandoning weapons as they ran. The psychological impact was exactly what he'd hoped for, not just destruction, but demoralization. "Sir," Dunn said, running sensor sweeps of the area. "I'm detecting conventional forces advancing from the west. Looks like your fireworks show gave them an opening." Saladin nodded, opening a channel to command now that they were clear of the jamming field. "Colonel Hargrove, this is Blood Moon Actual. Primary emergence point in Sector Alpha 3 has been neutralized. Repeat, primary emergence point neutralized." The response came quickly. "Blood Moon, this is Hargrove. Confirm status of emergence point." "Complete destruction, sir," Saladin reported, watching another beautiful secondary explosion send blue-white fire cascading across the battlefield. "We used my special explosive package. Tunnel collapsed, staging area destroyed, and surviving Krell forces are in full retreat. The psychological impact appears significant." There was a pause before Hargrove responded. "Understood, Blood Moon. Our sensors detected your handiwork from 200 kilometers away. Conventional forces are already exploiting the gap you've created. Well done." "Request permission to proceed to secondary targets once we've resupplied," Saladin said, already thinking ahead to their next objective. "Negative, Blood Moon. Return to forward operating base Epsilon for debriefing and resupply. We're sending Nightfall Squad to follow up on your success." Hargrove's tone changed slightly. "And Lieutenant, Quartermaster wants to know if you could possibly accomplish your objectives with fewer explosives next time. You're putting a strain on our supply chain." Saladin couldn't help but smile beneath his helmet. "With respect, sir, if it's worth doing with style." Blood Moon returning to base. As they guided their steeds toward the human lines, Saladin could see conventional forces already advancing, tanks and infantry moving cautiously through the gaps in the Krell defenses that Blood Moon had created. It wasn't victory, not yet. The war on Hataka would continue for weeks or months more, but today the stalemate had been broken. "Not bad for a day's work," Walker commented as they rode side by side. "Emergence point down. Dozen more to go," Saladin replied, adjusting his Stetson, which had somehow remained intact throughout the battle. As they approached the FOB, they could see soldiers stopping to stare at the 6 knights in white and crimson armor, their mechanical steeds moving with fluid grace across the ash-covered landscape. Behind them, the sky still glowed with the aftermath of Saladin's explosive artistry. Saladin ignored the attention, his mind already planning their next mission. Blood Moon had made a difference today, but the war was far from over. The Krell would regroup, would find new ways to emerge from their underground warrens, and when they did, Blood Moon would be waiting, with plenty of explosives. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Video shares, memberships, and super thanks help the channel grow as well, so feel free to partner with this channel in that way as we grow. With that all said, thank you again for listening to the story, and thank you for your time. On the left side of your screen are some videos I think you might be interested in. I hope to see you in the next one.